All right, Mr. Chair, we are live on YouTube and ready to go.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon. Due to COVID-19, Committee of Adjustment public hearings will be conducted virtually by electronic means through WebEx webinar, an online digital platform, and streamed on the Toronto City Planning YouTube channel. Participants who have registered in advance will be able to make their presentations to the committee using WebEx webinar, which is moderated by city staff. Anyone wishing to view the hearing may do so by watching on YouTube. Participants who are registered in advance will be connecting with their computer, tablet, smartphone, or telephone, and have the option of participating via video or audio only. All participants will automatically be muted on entry, and when your item is called, each participant will be unmuted by the moderator, one person at a time. We also ask that you mute your devices until you are called on to speak. Those participating by video appearance will be temporarily upgraded to panelists when your item is being held. During this time, your camera will be enabled and you will only be visible during your 5-minute allotted speaking time. At all other times, your video will be disabled and you will be returned or reinstated, as an attendee. Committee of Adjustment staff will share presentations submitted in accordance with the written submission deadline. Members of the public and applicants are not allowed to use the share screen or any other panelist controls during a video appearance. The host will remove you from the panelist role if you fail to respect this instruction. Land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that the land we are meeting on is traditional territory of many nations, including the off by heart anyway. The land we're meeting on is traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is also home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississauga of the Credit. In accordance with sections 45 and 53 of the Planning Act 1990 as amended, this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment of the City of Toronto is called to order. The Committee of Adjustment considers applications for variances from the provisions of the zoning bylaw that apply to the property, permissions to extend or alter lawful non-conforming uses, and consents to sever properties to create new lots. Anyone in attendance today who wants to anyone today who wants to receive a copy of the decision of the committee on an application must submit a written request for a decision by email. Please ensure that you include your name, address, and email address, because the Committee of Adjustment and the Toronto Local Appeal Body, in the event of an appeal, will be sending notifications and appeal updates by email. If you do not agree with the decision of the committee, you may be able to appeal the decision to the Toronto Local Appeal Body, or in some limited circumstances to the Ontario Land Tribunal. However, the provincial government has amended the Planning Act and generally removed rights of third parties to appeal Committee of Adjustment decisions. As of November 28, 2022, only the applicant, the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, specified persons, and public bodies, as those terms are defined in the Planning Act, are permitted to appeal decisions of the Committee of Adjustment. Appeal instructions are set out at the bottom of the decision of the committee. The hearing procedure is as follows. We'll call each item in the order listed in the agenda. First, dealing with one matter that I believe is requesting to be deferred. When an application is uncontested, the agent or applicant may proceed with their presentation if they desire. When the committee does not require a presentation, applicants are to advise the chair should they wish to address the committee. The committee may ask questions and then take the matter into the committee for a decision. Each speaker, including the applicant or agent, is given a maximum of 5 minutes to address the committee, and the clock is up showing the time, and we will comment when you reach 5 minutes and ask you to wrap up. When addressing the committee, please remember to start off by stating your name and address clearly for the record, and please remember to confine your remarks to the matters outlined in the application. In a matter where there's more than one speaker, the applicant or agent goes first and makes their presentation to the committee. Please note that the committee may not entertain revisions made to proposals at the hearing today. The committee may decide to defer the application if being substantially revised in order to ensure that the revised application is accurate and that all those entitled to notice of the application have been informed of the changes. Then individuals either in support or opposed to the application will be invited to speak. Committee members may ask questions of each speaker after they finish their presentations. And when all other speakers have finished, the applicant or agent has the opportunity of another 5 minutes to rebut only those issues and answer those questions raised by the speakers. That will then mark the end of the discussion, and the application is then taken into the committee for a decision. Okay, are there any declarations of interest of panel or staff to declare on the matters before us this afternoon? Okay, if none to declare, deferral requests. It looks like in the review we didn't get a consolidated memo. There were no deferrals, but we did have several this morning, and it looks like item number 23, Mr. Cronus in the additional materials. Anyway, is asking for further. That matter was already deferred, so let's call that 2095 CODLIN CRESCENT. This matter is to promote the existing use of outdoor storage, truck and trailer parking. It was already deferred from May 11, 2023. I'm going to have questions from Mr. Cronus. He's now asked for a further request to defer. We have on this matter presentation materials. Planning is recommending refusal. Councillor Crescent is recommending refusal. We have opposition from the next door neighbor. Transportation has no objection. But what I'm going to question from Mr. Cronus is why, this is a time limited matter. Community planning is asking for refusal or the event of approval that it be time limited to 1 year. So again, just like in as-built situations, when you're looking at a time limited approval, doesn't deferral get you sort of where you want to be without hearing the application? So my question is, why defer it a second time? So welcome, Mr. Cronus. Welcome back.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. Thank you for that. I can respond, and it's quite simple. The first deferral, sir, was as a result of the notice that did not contain the purpose of the application. Staff noticed that, and they asked, and reluctantly, we had to defer for notice. So it was nothing that arose out of the application itself other than the notice. And staff were accommodated an early hearing. As a result of the matter coming before you, Mr. Crescent or Councillor Crescent's letter was posted on Friday, and we reached out, had a meeting on site with Councillor Crescent. It was very productive, and he felt an additional deferral, and we agreed of some time would allow those discussions to unfold, and hence the deferral decree. I'm prepared to go, but I'd like to accommodate those discussions with the local councillor since he's shown an interest in the property, and that's the reason for the deferral today.
So is it to the next meeting or unlimited?
Well, Councillor Crescent indicated 60 days, but obviously we're in your hands.
Okay, just Councillor. I thought he was just opposed to it. Maybe I didn't read
well,
it.
But like I said, his letter, council letter was posted on Friday on the 2nd. We reached out. We had an on-site meeting on Monday. Following that meeting, we reached a conclusion together that a deferral would be appropriate to allow those discussions to materialize further. And immediately I wrote to the committee indicating that.
So we don't have anything from that. We'll certainly take you at your word as an officer of the court, or you're a professional planner, that you're telling us here that the councillor is requesting the deferral, not you.
Well, the council suggested 60 days, and I'm just communicating that.
And what type of discussion, if I may be so bold, just ask what type of discussion? This seems like to me an either or situation, or maybe I'm wrong.
Well,
you're on a use that's not permitted, and they've received numerous constituent concerns. I'm reading from the councillor's letter with respect to the impacts on the street's appearance, et cetera, et cetera. So,
okay. So there's
like a situation to defer when the backup position of planning is that you be given a 1-year extension. So this matter was already on the matter for May, and now we're looking for 60 days. that's just my opinion. I'd like to hear what other members the members have to feel about this.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, if I may answer your question,
Yep.
that's the hub of the concern of the councillor was basically, as he reported to us at the meeting, repeating the concerns of planning staff in one paragraph that indicates complaints. I saw that, and it's a repeat of the previous reports, and I did a Freedom of Information request to obtain any complaints, and I can report to the committee, as I will when the matter goes to a hearing, that as far as this property owner owned the property since 2016, there have been no complaints, and I have the documentation to back that up. So the councillor was not aware of that. So he wanted to have an opportunity to meet with planning staff and others collectively to see what resolution is possible. So that's the background in much more detail than
Yeah.
So,
I'm just reading the letter again because it's in the additional materials. I just had to close my materials and
yes.
just opening it up again. Members, I want to hear what any members have any questions for comments on this matter thus far? Or am I the only one? Or, when you have a situation like an as-built and you look to defer it, or you have a situation like this where it's a noxious use, not permitted, and you're looking at time limits, and then, okay, let's just defer it. That's what immediately comes to mind. Mr. Palmer, you were going to say.
Sorry. To Mr. Cronus, are you objecting if we gave approval to a 1-year time frame? Would you object to that? I guess what I'm thinking, if we decide to approve and we give you 1 year, you can still have your conversation with the councillor and it wouldn't prejudice your client. That's kind of what I'm thinking, and then we can deal with this.
It perhaps puts the client in a better position negotiating. So I'm not necessarily, I appreciate you want to know his position, but that gives him his 1 year. And if there is issues.
No, it doesn't necessarily.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway.
I'm just curious.
If I can answer that if you wish, Mr. Chairman, but Mr. Palmer, the request is not for 1 year. That's planning's, I guess, backup position. Their request is to refuse. There have been events that are followed. Obviously, you've read the TLAB decision, and they make certain findings, and those findings are sort of on the record, if you will, and it's inconsistent with planning staff's opinion. But more importantly, through the comprehensive zoning bylaw review that's going to happen to implement OPA 231, city planning staff have agreed to reinstitute truck terminals of permitted use, and I've supplied that email on the record as well, so you have it. So there's been a change. There's been a change in approach, if I may, and that's not included in the staff report, unfortunately. So I feel as officer of the court to update the committee on it, and we're seeking a permanent use, not a 1 year.
Oh, okay, no, that's helpful. I think Mr. Taylor, maybe you had a question too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a question, maybe of Philip, of staff. If we were to defer this sine die, what's the likelihood of it being scheduled within the next 60 days?
Staff would recommend, if it is 60 days, to defer it specifically to the August 3rd agenda. That way, whether they're ready or not, it's coming back on that day.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that was a good question, Mr. Taylor, because I was going to say, in terms of my position, I would only agree to a short deferral to a specific date if I was going to agree at all. But I didn't certainly raise the flag, and I appreciate Mr. Cronus's advice that this is a permanent request, and the city does need, I guess, these trucks deliveries to these big hubs for deliveries and stuff. So if there are changes, it's interesting. You did point out also that the planning department doesn't talk about that. So I appreciate we're having this discussion. So
if I could just comment as well, I'm looking at it on Street View, and if they are planning on coming back in August, I would suggest they come back with some sort of a landscaping plan based on what I'm looking at right now. I think that would help your case.
Again, Mr. Chair, one of the things we discussed on site with the councillor is to pave the four area. Right now there is dust, and one way to suppress it is to pave the area, and that's part of the discussion.
Yeah, I'm looking at an overgrown garden.
Yes,
but
and we've asked the tenant to jump on that. I agree with you. We need to cut the grass, as they say, and
Okay,
yeah,
so
that would help.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
so let's
I
get
agree.
back to looking for a motion to defer, and what sounds like it should be to a specific date in the not too distant future. And Mr.
Are there any neighbors
Carlino,
present?
sorry?
Are there any neighbors present? Because there was a couple of objection letters. And do we need to hear from them on the
Believe so.
request for adjournment?
No, we don't have anyone else present. Thank you, Mr. Palmer. So
Okay.
I'm looking for a motion either to deny the request for deferral or to defer. And suggest it should be to a specific date, as Mr. Carlino has provided, the August 8th.
Yeah, I'll move for deferral. I believe it was to August 8th was the date,
No, August 3rd.
August 3rd. So I'll move for deferral to August 3rd to allow the applicant time to consult with the counselor and city staff.
Thank you, Mr. Palmer, for that motion. Seconder for that. Ms. McCluskey, everyone's hand went up, so I take it's unanimous. We'll see you back here, Mr. Cronus. And I wasn't trying to be difficult, it's just whenever you get deferrals of these type of matters or as-built situations. So we'll see you back here, and hopefully you'll have some progress to report.
Mr. Chairman, those were all fair questions, and thank you for allowing me to answer them.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
You too.
I know.
Okay, so we can go back to the top of the agenda, item number 18. The address is 52 Greenbrook Drive. It's an application to construct a one-story rear addition with a rear deck. We have obviously the plans. There are 3 variances. We have nothing whatsoever on the additional materials. We have a letter of support from an next door neighbor at number 50, and Urban Forestry wants condition 2. Otherwise, we don't have anything. And the speaker is Stephen Lindy, the agent for the applicant.
Hi, this is the wrong item. I'm on the next item.
Oh, sorry. My mistake. Enzo Lacasano. Sorry, Enzo. Sorry, Stephen. It's the top of the page.
Hi there, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Lacasano, sorry about that.
Don't
So
worry.
we have nothing whatsoever. 3 variances and support from the next door neighbor. Anything you'd like to tell the committee members about before I turn it over?
Not really. I'm just not sure why forestry is looking for, there's no trees in the vicinity, so.
Private trees, looking for condition 2.
Yeah, I know, I saw that, but there's nothing, there's any substantial trees. They're all like small bushes, so.
Maybe they want you to put in a tree.
Maybe.
If there aren't any trees.
Anyway, I'll check with them.
Okay. They certainly didn't ask for a refusal on the basis of loss of viable
No.
things like that. So, okay, thank you. Members, any questions for Mr. Lacasano, or is someone ready for a motion? Mr. Taylor?
Yes, thanks, Mr. Chair. A pretty straightforward application. I'm confident that the 4 tests under the Planning Act are met. I move approval subject to urban forestry condition 2.
Thank you. Second for Mr. Taylor's motion. Ms. Alderson, thank you. All in favor? Unanimous approval. Thank you, Mr. Lacasano. Have a wonderful afternoon. Okay, now we get on to Mr. Lindy's application, 82 Bonnyview Drive. This is for a 2-story rear addition, a complete 2nd-story addition, the front and rear 2nd-story platforms. There are 8 variances. TRCA has no objection. They do point out there are post-approval conditions. There's another email with TRCA. Support from 55 and 70 Bonnyview Drive. And I think that's all we have. And this is Mr. Lindy, agent for the applicant.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Stephen Lindy, agent of the proposal.
Okay, so we have your presentation. We just put that up. I don't think we need a full presentation. You're the only person here. But if you'd like to walk through, there are quite a number of variances, and See if you'd like to give us a Cole's Notes version.
Okay, well, let's just jump to page 7, which is the site plan with the list of variances 1 to 4. Thank you. Next page, please. Yes, that's it. So variance number 1 is the lot coverage at 38.7, which is minor from the permitted 33%. Number 2 is the gross floor area, 0.62, which is common in the area where the bylaws permit 45%. Number 3 is the front yard setback, which is technical. It's an existing front yard setback and unchanged. Number 4 is the length, which is existing and unchanged. Next page, please. Variance number 5 is the roof eaves, 0.23 meters and 0.1 meters on the south lot line, which occurs at one pinch point along the angled property line. Number 6 is the area of each platform. Neighbors not affected. The balconies in the rear facing the ravine and on the side. And we could add the condition of privacy screen on the rear platform balcony on the north side, if that's what the committee recommends. And then 7 and 8 is shoreline hazard location with TRCA. And we require approval from TRCA for these items. That is pretty much it.
Okay, why don't we see if members have any questions? So in terms of the, you mentioned the screening. I don't see a condition here from community planning asking for that.
No.
So I don't know if that should be imposed or something that they want to do. That would only be on the rear one, not the other ones, I take it.
Yes.
Okay. Members, any questions for Mr. Lindy? And if no questions, is someone ready for a motion? Mr. Taylor?
Yes, again, a pretty straightforward application. I'm not inclined to impose a condition on screening around the deck. I think if the applicant wants to do that to maintain neighborhood relations, that would be up to them. I would just move approval on the grounds that the application meets the 4 tests, and that motion be for approval would be with the conditions.
Thank you. Seconded for Mr. Taylor's motion. Mr. Palmer, thank you. All in favor? It's unanimous. You have your approval.
Thank you.
Okay. Our next application is item number 20A, B, and C. The address being 49 BYWOOD Drive. This is an application for consent to sever the property into 2 separate lots, not undersized lots, but lots in this case. And on each of the properties so created, to demolish the existing house and develop each such lot as the site of a new detached dwelling with an attached garage, requiring, I believe, 5 variants to the zoning bylaw. Is that right? 5. Yes. We have the plans, we have a cover letter, arborist report, engineering construction services memo. We have 12 letters of opposition, and in the additional materials, another 3 letters of opposition. An email from planning that I believe they're okay, and urban forestry looking for conditions, condition number 2. And on this application, we have various speakers. We have Ali Malekzadeh, the agent for the applicant, as well as the neighbors, and perhaps subject to Olivia confirming their attendance. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 area residents on BYWOOD register to speak to this matter.
Mr. Chair, we have all the residents on the line except for Markian Timkuix at 29 BYWOOD Drive and Jerry Legurski, 71 BYWOOD Drive. We are going to try and get them on the line as the other area residents kind of trickle through their presentations.
We have 4 others while we're 4 others, or the applicant we get more, you can let us know.
Yeah, and we
We
do
come
have
back.
one late registrant. Her name is Suzanne West. Unsure right now whether she's going to want to speak or not, but she'll let us know when the time comes.
Okay, thank you, Olivia. Okay, so let's hear from Mr. Malek Zadeh. Welcome, sir.
Hello.
Hello, sir.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Chair and member of the committee. My name is Ali Malik Zadeh. Address is 236 Les Mills Drive in Toronto.
Okay, so you have 5 minutes to make a presentation of your application for consent to sever and build 2 new homes.
I really appreciate if they can bring the site plan, like the first page of the on the screen. I had a chance to review the opposition letters and then concern, and generally, what I understand that they are not supporting and against the severance. But I just wanted to bring to this committee attention that the minimum requirement of the frontage or lot frontage in this area by zoning bylaw is a 50 foot. So we have just slightly over 100 feet of the frontage, and by bylaw we can have 2 lots in this property. The only just minor variance we have on this severance is the lot area that is very close, and then that's the only item that we are not meet in this severance. And as we discussed with the city planner and the planning department, and then as you see the report, they are satisfied with the severance and the minor variance for each property. And then they are supporting and then is meet the 4 test of the official plan and then bylaw. This is general. It's been done in BYWOOD. Just the beginning of the street, there was a severance done a few years back with the almost similar minor variance. At this proposal, we just providing a very regular house. We are not out of the character of the neighborhood as the other development happened in the property. It's not modern.
So do you know the address? What was the address of that property? And if that's
I can give you that. I just
okay,
just a minute.
I see we have our map. I'd like to get that up while you're making your presentation. I'll tell you why, because I guess the argument is, and I want a question for staff. So it's not a as I said in my opening, it's not a undersized lot. We saw the planning memo, but they still need a severance, correct? It's not like they just as of right. Or if they built a house as of right with no variances, could they get, I believe they still have to come for a severance, because even though the lot is not undersized. So that's my question for Mr. Caravellino, is that on the other side of the street with the even members, the lots look a little bit smaller, but they certainly look wider. Are they all 100-foot lots?
Yes.
Along the south side?
Yes, along the south side, yes.
So that's the argument going to be, that there may be lots on the other side of the street, on the even numbered side, that are smaller, that all the lots on the odd side are backing onto the golf course. And I believe we did have a letter from the golf course, are all 100-foot lots. So that's, I can't see beyond number 43 on our location map. So it would be helpful to know how far that condition increases in terms of the elephant in the room. But yes, it is a compliant lot, but the issue is it out of character along all the other 100-foot lots on that side of the street? I guess we're going to hear from the neighbors.
Yeah, but I am just referring to the other application that is happened. Just one severance happened in BYWOOD. I'm just trying to find the exact address to
Okay.
tell you that. I think is a 10 BYWOOD Drive, or if I'm not mistaken. I think is a 10 BYWOOD Drive. It's just the beginning of the street with the intersection with the main road. That's how I remember. I can confirm that again during my presentation,
Okay.
or after I'm coming back after other speaker. Going back to the character of the neighborhood. Every development happening in I can say in Etobicoke, because of the old bylaw as a exception, adding to the harmonized bylaw of Toronto, the height is going to be an issue, and then I see that most of the application as a new dwelling proposed, they are asking for the extra height, same as other application that I have in Etobicoke, and this is something very normal because bylaw is just very restricted, and for the new house 2-story, achieving 6.5 meter of the soffit height is almost impossible with the today architecture and then the request of the end user. One of the item that I want to add on this property is bought by a family. They are my client, and there's two brothers that they are going to live in this property in two houses. That's one of the reason they are severing this property. So I saw in some of the opposition letter that they are saying that this is for development, and then the developer should go somewhere else, not in this area. But my client, they are going to resident in this area and continuing living, and that's why they're doing this severance. Regarding to the urban forestry, also we are in a communication and application with the urban forestry, where we are going to meet their conditions in terms of the trees. We are maintaining all the tree at the back, and then as you can see on the proposed plan, the existing pool of the property also is going to be remain in one of the properties. So we're trying to maintain as much as we can the landscaping and the tree of the area. And the houses also, based on the lot size, they are not humongous. They have a good proportion with the property and the severance as well. I can answer any question if come. I'm just trying to mention again, with this variance, having just only 5 variances, minor variance for each property is very minor, and I think is a very reasonable proposal for the area and then for this property, and I'm happy to answer any question that is come. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to just ask you a question, or ask staff, because you didn't answer my question, and I asked to see the site plan. So I wanted just to see the lot patterning further down to the side than we could see in our location map. If we could put the location map, and I guess the argument to put our hand is not that you still have to get a severance. I didn't get the answer from you, but I'll get it from Phil. You're going to a flat root height from 6.5 to 9.45, so that's quite an increase. It's 50%. It's not just you're slightly above. And the question, though, is if I'd like to see the lot plan exactly. So the even side of the street, which you said number 10 got a severance, that would have been on the other side of the street with the smaller lots. So specifically lots, I guess, backing onto the greenery of the golf course, those are all 100-foot lots. And I don't know how far it extends beyond the number we can see on the screen. Do those continue as 100-foot lots? Can we get that as perhaps, I don't know if Ms. Alderson always likes to check on Google. So beyond number 2037 on BYWOOD, and again, those don't back onto the golf course, but are those also 100-foot lots, or do they taper down to what the applicant is asking for here.
I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah.
On both sides of the street, they seem to be fairly large lots on both sides of the street. I don't see any lots that have been.
Yeah, so I'm just,
Separate.
to me, they look like the even side are smaller lots and the build.
Perhaps a little smaller, but
Yeah.
not considerably smaller. And I'm just going to take a walk down the street for a second.
Okay. So the issue to me seems, and we're going to hear from the neighbors, is that this is first of all, the house they're proposing to big is too tall, and then also we're going to hear about the lot patterning. So
yeah, I think this would be setting a precedent. But the street view photograph is from October of 2020, so that's what I'm basing it on.
Okay, so Mr. Carvalino, am I correct that they still need a consent? It's not as of right, just because the lot is not substandard. Often we see substandard lots on severances, true, but just because this is a standard lot or a lot that meets the bylaw definition doesn't mean that they still don't need the committee to approve the consent. Is that correct?
That's correct. You still have one parcel of land consisting of one whole lot plus part of a lot. And if you want to create two lots from that, you do need the consent application to implement that.
Okay, thank you just for clarifying that on the record, because it made it seem like it was being alleged that they're entitled to do this. So anyway, okay, so does anyone have any questions for the agent before we start hearing from the neighbors?
Just one more comment. There are no sidewalks on the street, which actually makes the lots appear to be larger.
Okay. Okay, so I guess we might as well go in order.
Sorry, Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Yeah, I have a comment and a question.
Sure, go ahead.
My view of the location map is that this lot and the one immediately to the east, number 47, are the only 200-foot lots. The rest of them, I would guess, are 75, 80.
Okay, thank you. But they're not 50.
No, they're not 50.
Right.
Yeah, they're considerably larger than 50, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And I have a question of the agent. Sir, you mentioned in your presentation that your proposed lot sizes are less than required by zoning. And yet I don't see a variance request for the reduced lot area. Is that something you've missed?
No, I think I made a mistake. That was it was on conversation with the planner, but that was resolved. I'm sorry about that. But I just wanted to add a small addition to this regarding to the lot pattern. If we pass and then go west of Remington Drive along the BYWOOD and back to the same golf course, you're gonna see most of the property, they are not 100, they are all between 50 and 60 foot lot, and then there was severance happened close to the Kipling as well. So the pattern completely after west of Remington is changing. And then it's become like a normal size 50 to 60 foot lot. So the only stretch in this area is between Remington and the east side road is Carroll Land, I think, drive, that they are 100 foot. And then that's why the zoning is minimum requirement is a 50-foot lot, because the pattern is already exist in the area. Thank you.
Okay, so we have registered. Anyone? That's all the end of the questions from Mr. Melchizedek before we hear from the neighbors. Okay, so the first neighbor on my list is Nick DeFrancesco at 56 BYWOOD on the other side of the street, almost one house removed or so from the property on the other side. Mr.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, so it's Nick DeFrancesco. I'm at 56 BYWOOD Drive. I've been living in the area since 2000, and I'm a builder myself. I was totally taken off guard when I've seen these drawings, how I've got a notice that this is for a minor variance. In the immediate area all the houses between Remington and Cedarland on the south side are all 100-foot lots. And I am on the opposite side of the street, which are all 80-foot lots. We are surrounded by large trees and houses that complement the architecture in the area. And I'm seeing these two towers that are proposed with close to double the height restriction, side yard restriction, backyard restriction, and this is far from anything that fits in the area. Moving forward, if you go down the street towards Kipling or Islington, which I have all neighbors in there, the lots are all 70 and 60 feet. And the reason they get smaller is because of the noise aspect moving closer to the main roads. But in between the middle area, they are all larger lots. So I don't see how this house fits anywhere close to what is in the immediate area as far as architectural design, as far as fitting in with the neighbors. You have a bungalow that's beside him that it's going to look like it is basically dwarfed beside an office building. And you have new houses that everything is more especially in the immediate area. These houses, people have put a lot of money into them. They're a lot more traditional. And I don't see how this or any way that this variance even makes any sense at all. And I've been approached by neighbors in the past to say, listen, if they want, when they were willing to sell, if I would be interested in severing them. And our question between all our neighbors has always been no. So this is far from, I don't know where he's getting his information that there's a lot of 50-foot lots on the area. And especially in the immediate area, there's far from, they're all 180 feet lot. And when you drive down the street, you cannot notice the difference between the 80-foot and the 100-foot. They look very close once you put the side yard setbacks into them.
Okay, thank you. So anyone, that's the end of your submission. Anyone have any questions?
I think if this gets approved, we are gonna open up a can that we don't want to go down. And I think I speak for myself, and I went through and spoke to all the immediate neighbors last night, and everyone was they're all opposed by this. And I am not going to step back and see this happen and destroy this area.
Okay, thank you, sir. Anyone have any questions
Thank
for Mr. DeFrancesco? And if no, Mr. Taylor?
Yeah, just a comment. I'm looking at the location map, and unless the scaling is inaccurate, I see numbers 37 to 57 BYWOOD all on the south side. The only two lots that are 100 feet are 47 and 49. They're not.
That is totally wrong.
They're not all 100-foot lots.
No, that is totally wrong. From Remington, right across, those lots are all 100 feet on the south side. All the neighbors.
This location map
is 100 feet.
So this location map we're all looking at is inaccurate then?
I don't know what you're looking at, but
I'm looking at the location map.
If they go down to 80 feet, if they're not 100 and they go down, but the houses in the immediate area are all 100. The one next to him is 100. His is 110. The Mike's place is 90, and Healy's is 100, and the house right beside him is 100, and the corner house is 100.
Okay, then we've got an inferior substandard at a scale map to base our decision on.
Yeah, something is wrong. All those houses in the immediate area are all 100 to 90 feet, 100%. The only reason why that lot was slightly larger is because the original owner back in '53 took some footage off of the adjacent lot so that he could build an extra garage. And that's why there's slightly more room. But if you look at the lot, it runs on an angle, so he doesn't even meet his setbacks on either end.
Yeah, he's looking for side yard setbacks and variance 2. And okay, thank you, sir. Mr. Taylor,
These
you
are
have
going to
your
be
question?
these are going to be harsh, cold-looking buildings where we're surrounded by trees.
Okay, Mr. Taylor, you have the answer to your question?
Well, I do, but I'm just confused because normally we have
Yeah,
good
Mr.
accurate
Maybe
representations
Mr.
of lot patterns.
Yeah, Mr.
Apparently we
Carvalino.
don't in this case.
Yeah, maybe let's let Mr. Carvalino comment on the. I agree with you when you look at that location map. It looks, the few of them look like 100. The other ones are.
If 49 is 110, there's no way 51 right next door is anywhere close to 100.
Is 90. The one next door is 90, and the one right next to it is 100, and the one right next to it again is 100,000%, and the one to the corner is 100, because they all approached me that they wanted me to buy the lots to sever them, and I said no. This is going back many years ago.
In the middle of a
So
conversation.
I know for a fact those are all 100-foot lots.
Okay, thank you, Phil. Can we hear from Mr. Carvalino?
Who's that?
Yes, Mr. Chair. The
Okay.
location maps are based on the information that the city has through our GIS system, but they may not graphically represent accurately. However, what I can say is when you look at the survey, it is lot 113 and part of lot 112 and part of lot 113. So the resident did indicate that there was a lot addition done for the purpose of creating an extra garage.
Yeah, so, okay, so the other one would have
a little less, and this one would have
be a
a
little
little
bit
more.
smaller. This one would be a little bigger. He did say they'll have a little more than 100 that's being divided, so that's why these lots comply in any event with the
I think he said 110 versus 90. The neighbor was 90 next door, which would make perfect sense.
Yeah, that adds up. Okay, so that's that, and we can. So again, the lots do appear to be larger on that side of the street, especially the ones backing onto the golf course. And I believe there's a good sort of overhead in the presentation materials on I think the first page, if anyone wants to take a look, or I don't have time to look up Google, but I believe Ms. Alderson has checked, so that's a good thing. So no questions for Mr. Francesco remaining. Let's go to the next speaker, Robert Minister at 54, next door to Mr. Francesco.
Hello. Hi. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for hearing me. I do have to agree with Nick that those lots are probably 100 feet. If you go from 57, 55, and 53, they are 100 feet lots, which are not 51 and next adjacent, but the next 3 afterwards. So they're quite large.
Yep.
And I just wanted to, say that this would fundamentally change the neighborhood from what it is to make a 55-foot lot in there. It's kind of, I was shocked that it was only required 14 days notice. And the only posting that is on that house is on the garage of the building. It's not even on the street view. I'd have to trespass to read what was going on this house. Additionally, they're talking about putting monster windows in this house. It's going to be, a 21-foot window by 16, so 336 square feet of window on one side. On the left side, you're talking a 16-foot by 12-foot, another 200 feet of window. So this window will be looking directly at my house and my property because of the increased height variance, which is nearly 50% larger than allowed. The floor space also exceeds by, probably 41%, which is not a minor variance. These are big changes and requirements to do that. I know at the time the house was sold to these 2 brothers, I was told it was going to be from the gentleman that used to own it, that it was a small renovation and they were going to put a family home in there for themselves, not that they're going to be dividing it and ruining part of the neighborhood. Additionally, most of the neighbors that I've talked to were even unaware because I guess there's only a 60-meter notice that had to be provided. So it's a limited number of the neighborhood that got this. So most of this was done through word of mouth. And we only had a 14-day, time period to voice our concerns, which I felt was, limiting the number of people that would oppose this project. I would have liked to see more people in the Princess Rose Thorn neighborhood notified something like this, because it will affect everyone, especially if you looked at, a Google map of this area. A lot of the neighborhood north of this is also continuing in that 80-foot lot range, not this 50-foot lot range, which are just the last two houses on the street sort of thing. I don't know the process for this, but I thought lot severance used to be an OMB issue, not even applicable through this sort of tribunal. But I'm not familiar with the process myself, so I'm not sure how that's handled. But I've outlined a lot of my concerns in my letter, additionally to this. Pardon me?
No, please continue and say anything. Yeah. We have your letter up on the board while you're speaking.
Oh, okay, perfect. Yeah.
Appreciate your concerns.
Yeah, and in conclusion, I really would like to see this, whole splitting of the lots knocked down and not have to get into the minor variances, which are significant variances in my concern. Thank you very much, Speaker, for your time and the committee.
Yeah, just to let you know, sir, consents to create new lots are covered under the planning and are dealt with at the committee. The appeal of those obviously used to go to the OMB, or now they go to TLAB. And since November, if you were listening to my opening remarks, since November 22nd, it becomes much more serious, because in the event of an approval, the neighbors cannot appeal. In the event of refusal, the applicant can, unless the city decides to appeal. And in this case, interesting that the planning has not weighed in with a refusal on this application. So having said that, let's see if anyone else has any questions for you. If not, we'll go on to the next speaker, who is any questions for Mr. Minister? Okay, if not, 31 BYWOOD Drive is the next neighbor. Not sure who's speaking. There are two of them listed. We only have one speaker, so I don't know if it's...
Yeah, my name is Henriette Panzini. I live on 31 BYWOOD Drive. The reason I'm attending this meeting online is, like it's been said already, we just became aware very recently about the application to sever the lots. There was only a tiny little sign. You had to actually trespass to see what was going on. And so by the time we became aware of this application, there was no time. We had missed the deadline to send a supporting letter. So that's why I'm doing this in verbally. I do not know Mr. DeFrancesco or Mr. Minister that just spoke, but I have to agree 100% with them that severing this lot into two small lots really is going to deface the neighborhood and the street for sure. There's currently sort of a bungalow there, and I'm not a city planner, and I didn't take a tape measure, but visually it's very obvious that if you sever this lot in two, it creates two very small lots. And so it's completely out of keeping with the rest of the neighborhood. And, we can all argue, between 80 feet and 100 feet, but really visually, when you live there, you don't see the big difference, but you're going to see the difference between a 50-foot lot and a 100-foot lot, in addition to all the other variances that I'm not even gonna address, because really my main opposition is with the severing. Now, these variances, the person who made the application makes it sound like they're small variances, but they're actually quite significant variances in terms of the height and the proportion of the house, and it's completely out of keeping with the rest of the neighborhood. So, like I said, I am not a city planner. I have nothing to do with this, but I'm a neighbor and I have eyes. And when I chose to live in this neighborhood, I certainly did not want to see it being destroyed like this.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the next speaker, anyone have any questions for Ms. Panzini? If not, the next speaker is Allison Hall at 38 BYWOOD.
Hi, how are you? My name is Allison Hall. I live at 38 Bywood. I'm also a realtor in the neighborhood, and I've sold several homes in Princess Rosethorn. Last year, a couple years when I first moved into the neighborhood, I also worked with the community to help build the park. So I'm very familiar with the neighborhood. I have my Geo warehouse open, so I'm looking at the lot sizes and, in that particular stretch where we're on to the golf course. That part of Bywood is kind of like the jewel of the neighborhood. Like you walk past there and you see these beautiful 80, 100-foot lots backing onto Islington Golf Course, and they're stunning. And to have it chopped up into a 50-foot lot there is, like everyone is saying, is going to really take away from the aesthetic of what I consider like kind of the heart and gem of Princess Rosethorn. As you get closer to Kipling or Islington, the lot sizes are just slightly smaller, but that little stretch, like people drive by just to look at those houses because they have such an appeal. And the other thing that I wanted to note is we really did not get notice for this. So I ended up hearing from a neighbor, there was not a letter in the mail. The property right now, I don't know if anyone's mentioned this, but it's in complete disarray. So the weeds are up to, a couple of feet high, which is not something that people in the neighborhood are happy about as well. But I do think that between specifically Remington and Cedarland, like those lots are, that one is actually the largest lot on the street. I think it's 110. It's literally the widest lot. Next to it, it's between 90 and 100. So I'm looking at Geo Warehouse and I can confirm that. But I really think that you're going to destroy a part of the neighborhood where people are proud of. And I think that's going to be really not in keeping and is going to disturb a lot of people, which everyone's talking about. In terms of the other variances and things like that, I think that, we have to talk about the severance first, because that is, I think, the biggest concern amongst everyone.
What about the flat roof height? Is that, assuming it was one house, is that within the character of the neighborhood?
To be completely honest, I haven't dissected the plans in great detail. I think, you want to have the houses that kind of match the other side. Like they're kind of like longer bungalow style houses. There is Kelly and Kieran have a nice tall built bigger house. So I think if you do a large kind of flat roof, I don't think that is going to work well, especially with 100-foot lot. It will look essentially like a medical building in the midst of a very traditional neighborhood. Yes, there are modern houses. And I think that it's nice to have a bit of a mix, but these particular houses are really different. And I think that's what people have a hard time with. I just built my house 2 years ago, so, I'm familiar with this process a little bit. But I think, everyone is concerned mostly about, ruining that specific section, which is the jewel of the neighborhood. All of the hundreds and the 80s are there. And I think it's really going to affect the way people see the street.
Thank you. Okay, does anyone else have any questions for Ms. Hall? And if not, I guess is Olivia, are the two other speakers back, or is
Hi,
Susan
Mr.
West?
Chair. Markian will be joining us. I'm just going to refresh here, and it seems like he has joined us. We can go to Markian. However, Jerry will not be joining the call. And then we just have Suzanne West after that.
Okay, thank
you.
you.
We'll go to the next speaker, Markian Timkuich.
Okay, and I think we have. Is this the Aikens, Michael or Miaslawa? We have their letter number 1 at 51.
This is Markian Timkuich at 29 Bywood Drive.
29. Okay, so what about, I see letter number 1 is from the next door neighbor. Who Jack, the first letter, 51 Bywood. I thought you said they were on the line, but they're not. Okay. Okay, thank you. Michael D'Aiken at 51, that have been crossed out, I guess. Okay, he's not here. So we have the speaker from.
He did not register to speak. He just wanted a copy of the decision.
Okay, thank you. His name's on the list, but it's crossed out on the speaker list. An extra neighbor. Okay, so right now we have the neighbor at 29 on the line, correct?
That's correct. Markian, you are unmuted and you can go ahead.
Thank you.
Join in on the hearing and see what the outcome was. So I'm just joining in for that. I apologize.
Okay, so you don't wish to make any submissions or anything? Fair enough.
Not at the moment, no.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so Olivia, then we have Susan West left, and we don't have her address, so we'll need that.
We have Suzanne West from 47 Bywood Drive.
47, okay.
Hello, Mr. Chair. Hello,
Hello.
committee. Again, with the lot size, 47 Bywood, my house is just 2 feet, the second largest property on the street, with 49 having 2 feet more. We've lived in this house since 1994. We take great pride in our gardens, in our privacy with a family. And again, we only found about this notice as I was taking the garbage out. And I was one that had said several complaints about the weeds and the mowing of the lawn for over a month, and it finally got done. We're devastated that they're going to put mirror houses, and we have a spectacular view of the golf course, and it's peaceful, it's quiet. They're going to be taking down hedges, and I'm still trying to even get my fence repaired with the new owner. And it's just very hard. And my husband and I scrambled to get our letter of opposition in because there was no time, and we did not, unless we took the garbage out in the morning, there was a bunch of neighbors all saying, I didn't know, I didn't know, I didn't know. So fully against the severing of the property as well. And I fully, wholehearted agree with all my neighbors that are objecting to this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Before I see if anyone has any questions and turning it back over to the agent, I just want to make 2 comments, which staff can perhaps confirm that the timing, it is very tight. There's proper timing. They don't give you a lot of time, and that's just how it works. And the radius clause, because they're big lots, the radius clause is the same on a downtown city of 60 meters, which gets a lot of people notified as opposed to your neighborhood. So maybe you people need to sort of confirm some kind of a loosely Princess Ghostthorn Community Association to let each other know or something when in terms of getting notice of these things might not be a bad idea, because that's how it works. And we often hear, oh, we only found out because we were speaking to someone. Or so that's the radius under the Planning Act, and that's the timing under the Planning Act. So everything's been complied with. It doesn't give a lot of time. I just heard the last neighbor say that the weeds and grass have been cut. Otherwise, I would ask Mr. Malek Zadeh to get his client to do so. Perhaps sometimes it's a psychological thing to leave all the weeds and grass uncut to kind of subconsciously get neighbors to agree that any development is better than the current situation. So it's just to come here with clean hands is please keep the grass cut as this matter proceeds. It's not nice to do that to this community. Okay, so let's turn it back over to Mr. Malek Zadeh to respond to the neighbors' concerns.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you from neighbor with all concern. I think in terms of the pattern and the lot size in the area, especially the stretch that our property is on it, as one of the members mentioned, is just a few lots that they are in that stretch of 90 to 100 foot. Most of them, they are between 75 to 80, 82, like a number 52, 54, 56. There is the zoning mapping of City of Toronto that is public for everyone, and they are accurate for the measurement. You can there is a measurement tools. Everyone can measure that. I think that's very obvious. I don't need to go over all of them. And property after west of Remington to Islington, they are range between 55 to 60 and then 65. So as an again, I mentioned the minimum lot frontage requirement by bylaw is a 50, and then we are 55. We are meeting that. So in terms of the consent and then severance, we don't have any issue. We have to just ask for that being decided at the committee. If I can ask the staff that will bring the elevation to the on the screen, I can explain a little bit more about the height. And then also, in the meantime, for the side yard setback, as you see, our variance is very minor. The requirement is 3.37, and then we are in 3.02. We try to manage the proposed house with within the front, rear, side yard setback, so we are not asking for any variance. We knew that the sensitivity of the area, but that's why we're trying to keep the setbacks as per requirement. In terms of the height, this is a slope roof. It's not a flat roof, but in terms of the technicality, zoning examiner, because of those box window over the slope roof, they count this one as in percentage wise. Between the slope roof and then the flat roof, they take this one as a flat roof, and then they went all the way to the ridge of the roof, and they taking it 9.49 as the flat roof. But as you see, is a slope roof. There is a soffit in 6.95, and we have those boxes that is sticking and going over the flat roof, over the slope roof at the front of the house and then the back of the house. In terms of the height, I can eliminate this variance of the height, because I can change my window a little bit, and then just removing that variance is not an issue. We can do that, and I'm proposing right now that I am removing variance number 3 on both application to remove the height, because this was discussed with the examiner, and but we didn't have time to send them the new drawing to eliminate this variance, but I am eliminating it now because we have a sketch and then we can comply with that.
So hold on. So you're just on the fly here. You're eliminating variance 3, the proposed dwelling flat roof height of 9.49. You're going to comply with the 6.5, or you're saying it's not going to be considered a flat roof. It's going to be considered a slope roof, and if that complies as well.
Considering a slope roof, and then we are going to comply with the requirement. So that's what I'm removing that at this point.
Okay, Mr. Carvalina, so I take it your plans are not going to match in the event you get approved. Your plans are not going to match your what's been approved, because you're eliminating that variance.
Yes, I understand that.
Okay, please continue. I didn't mean to interrupt.
So I think in this response, I respond to the lot size. In terms of the type of architecture and harmony with the neighborhood. The neighborhood is a very old neighborhood, and then we know that I mean, Toronto, especially this area, is under development, and modern house or let's say contemporary houses, they are always proposing a bigger window. If the neighbor on the cross street, they are concerning about the large window we have a large window as well. It's our bedroom or our living space as well. So it's not that overlooking to anyone else or taking the privacy. It's part of the architecture. And as the large lot, I can say as a 50-foot the lot size, the proportion of the roof and then the windows is there, and I don't see any issue with the type of architecture that we are proposing here. We try to within the bylaw proposing this, and I'm as I said, the having 4 variances, and then they are all minor in this. I'm just repeating this is minor. It's reasonable. This
You
application.
can wrap up, Mr. Alexadeh, because you're over your 6 minutes. I know you had a lot of people to respond to, and we did have a discussion during your time. But if you can please wrap up, and you are eliminating variance 3 on both proposals. As part
I'm
of
okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, members, questions for Mr. Alexadeh, or for any of the neighbors, or comments and a motion? And the flat roof height has been eliminated. We have the consent and the 4 variances.
I just have a comment. I'm frankly surprised that community planning didn't weigh in on this. I really think that it's not in keeping with the prevailing character of the neighborhood, and that's what I wanted to say. And I'm happy to listen to whatever anybody else has to say.
Okay, thank you. I agree with you, which is why I was looking at the lot patterning. Although it's sort of permitted this particular stretch by the applicant's own admission, it's just these particular, but that he happens to be one of those houses. So in any event, that's just from my questioning where my position is on that. I think it's great that he can take the height down, because that was a concern of many of the neighbors as well. So obviously it wasn't across the whole lot that he's able to deal with that. So any other questions or comments, or is someone ready to weigh in with the motion?
Just comment from me. Yeah, I had a concern with the height, and now that it's been removed, I'm comfortable with the lotting. It meets the zoning, so I've got no issue with that. And eventually, the lot patterns around here are going to change, and with the new policies that are in effect now, there might be multiplexes going up in this neighborhood too.
Okay, I personally think the EHON policies are not being met by taking a 100-foot lot and making 2 50-foot lot houses. It's not affecting the people that I think who are meant to be affected by increasing the housing stock in the city. Is not. I don't think that's what they were focusing in on, but it does create 2, where you had 1.
Yeah, I don't think that this is affordable housing either way you slice it.
Agree. Okay, so I guess everyone's sort of given their 2 cents, and we haven't heard from Mr. Taylor or Ms. McCluskey, but I guess someone can weigh in with a motion at any time. And I would just ask the applicant either way to please, in this neighborhood where it is, not just in every neighborhood, but to please keep the grass, the cut, and the weeds in control, even though the property is vacant pending redevelopment. It's only the right thing to do. So I'm ready for a motion.
I'll make a motion, but I'm going to make a preamble comment, short one. I've been teetering on the line on this thing ever since I read about it. On one hand, I agree with Ms. Alderson. It is not in keeping with the existing character of, especially the south side of this street, backing onto the golf course. No question, it's not compatible. However, I also agree with Mr. Palmer. The zoning bylaw allows lots the size that are proposed, frontage-wise, area-wise. The houses being constructed meet the front yard, rear yard, side yards, basically. So again, I'm teetering. I'm just going to put a motion out,
Go ahead.
and fall on the side of the lots being incompatible with this streetscape, in the immediate vicinity of the streetscape. So I'm going to move refusal of the consent, and then by virtue of that, I'm going to determine that the minor variances do not meet the 4 tests under the Planning Act, and move refusal of them as well.
Yeah, well, we don't get to, if we don't get to the consent, we don't even have
You
to
don't
consent.
get the variances, yeah.
Correct.
So that's my motion, refusal.
Refuse the application. Okay, thank you. Do I have a seconder for that?
You do have a seconder, and it, as far as I'm concerned, it does not meet the prevailing character of the neighborhood. It may in fact change one day,
Yeah.
but I don't want to be the person that changes it.
Yeah. And I think, in terms of the fact that the lot is, it is a legal lot, but you still have to look at it in the context of the applicant's own admission. This particular stretch are 100 to 80-foot lots and not 50-foot lots. And although it may change when people start putting multiplexes there, and maybe the neighbors may wish at some point that they had agreed to 2 50-foot lots because it could get something else, but that perhaps is sometime down the road. So I agree with that. But in any event, we have a motion on the table. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 4-1. The application is refused. Thank you to the neighbors. And in terms of just the constant, and I've heard this, I've been doing this a long time, in terms of the short timeline and the notice, especially on bigger lots, you have to form an informal association to sort of spread the word when you get rise of the people who actually get the physical within the 60 meter radius. At least it's not an association, at least some sort of a way of getting this word out when these applications come up forward, so you don't miss out because you don't have a lot of time. Okay, so
Through a residents association or something like that.
Yeah, or just informal, just get the word out when someone gets an application. Yep. Okay, so thank you, everyone. We can move on then to the next application, which is item number 21, 180 Lakeshore Drive. And we have, it looks like a revised highlighted sheet showing changes. So this is construct a new detached dwelling with an attached garage, 180 Lakeshore. There were variances. Yeah, there were 3 variances. They've all been revised. We still have 3 variances. And we have a cover letter, we have planning, and the materials from the previous hearing. This matter was deferred from the October 13th, 2022, over a year ago. And Urban Forestry is looking for condition number 3. The speaker for this application is Alex Marrero. Only one speaker, who is the new owner of the property.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman.
Hello.
Yes, hi. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, panel. As you very well put it, we changed all of the variances after speaking to planning department.
Can we get your name to start off, please?
Alex Marrero. I'm representing 180 Lakeshore Drive.
Okay, and I see the property shows that the agent is Andrew Arsenault, and that the owners are Aaron Kaplan and Yahel Nov. Are
Correct.
you the new owner? Is that why you just recently purchased the property?
Correct.
Okay. Very good. Okay, so yeah, we don't have anyone else here, so it looks like you've reduced all your variances. Was that a result of talking to community planning?
Correct. We talked to planning staff and we followed their advice. And I'm pretty sure planning staff is not in opposition of the application.
Okay. So we do have a planning report here. Yes, so the 2 conditions, the 2 things they wanted done, or it's what you've done. Correct. So let's just see if members have any questions for you.
Thank you.
It looks like you've done what community planning has requested in their email, in their report. Great. Members, any questions for Mr. Marrero, or someone ready for a motion? And I don't see visual because I got the plan up on the board. So if someone's ready, or if someone have any questions.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
I'm prepared to make a motion unless anybody has any questions.
Go ahead.
Pretty straightforward. Now satisfies the planning department. The variances meet the 4 tests under the Planning Act, in my opinion. I move approval subject of the revised notice, subject to urban forestry condition 3.
Okay, thank you. Seconder for that? Ms. Alderson, everyone's hands up though, so it looks like we have unanimous approval. Thank you, Mr. Marrero. Enjoy your new house. Okay, so moving on to our last application of the afternoon. Item 22, 4740 to 4742 Dundas Street West. It's to permit a parking deficiency of the proposed medical clinic with ancillary park pharmacy. We have one variance in terms of the deficiency of 16 parking spaces. And we have several speakers on this application. Oh, yes, we do. Laura Thomas, the applicant, as well as we have a deputant for the neighbors at number 1 Chestnut Hills Acres, Peter Mislin, former councillor, and we have the neighbors from 4744 Dundas Street West, 2220 Bloor Street West, the lawyer acting on behalf of another neighbor at 3 Chestnut Hills Crescent, as well as a resident at 40 Roxlene Street. So we have one subject to Olivia's confirmation, 1, 2, 3, 4 speakers and the applicant.
Hi, Mr. Chair. We have everyone on the line except for Darius, but we are trying to make contact with him now. He has not logged into the meeting so far yet today. So.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, we did receive communication from the ward councillor, and early this morning, our transportation services staff did submit their concerns in a report, which staff can put on the screen to share with you.
Okay, and what's the councillor's position? We got a councillor letter?
Yes, it's on the screen right now for you. And then, Olivia, can you bring up transportation's report with the conclusion at the end, please?
It was a little small. I couldn't. So what was the? We get the summary, or it's hard to read this. I was scrolling through the councillor's letter, but it got taken off the screen. So, what are their? Does someone summarize their position? Conclusions. So, can we go to the next? Scroll up a bit. Mr. Carvalino, can you summarize what the position of the councillor and transportation is?
Transportation is expressing concerns with the study that was submitted with their proxy site, and they're expressing their concerns with the deficiency, as you can read in the conclusion. And then, Olivia, can you bring up the?
Yeah, usually there's a. Important to consider. Okay, we have to go to the next. Yeah, that's as far as I got. So that's all he says. He says we got to consider the practical functionality of this proposal, but he says he's received complaints by overflow. So he seems to be, I don't know. It's been controversial. Does he have any conclusion at the end, or he just basically says we need to take that into consideration? Consider the functionality. Okay, I thought it was going to be another paragraph after that, but not quite.
I think that the transportation report the conclusion should be brought up again, just so that the committee can read through that. And our apologies, it came through this morning.
Usually there's like a conclusion at the end of that. Is even counting the shared parking a deficiency. I can't read your something.
Can we just look right above the signature, because that's when they usually sort of wrap it up.
Exactly, and I couldn't. It was hidden under my
Yeah.
Little buttons there.
Could we go down a little further?
Sorry,
Sorry,
did
I'm
you want
anxious to
the
get to the.
counselor's letter back or
No, I
just the
want the-
No, I want to
transportation?
see what's on the screen, but I want to see the bottom line right above whoever signed it. They usually say, therefore, we.
Yeah,
If you scroll down to the next page.
there we go. There we go.
Yeah, okay.
Wow. Okay. They don't. Both letters don't actually come to any conclusion as we usually see, which is interesting. Okay. Let's hear then. Without any further ado, then let's hear from the agent. Let her make her case here. Okay. Maybe the agent can help us. I was a planner, I believe, to try to interpret what the counselor and transportation is saying.
Yeah.
I think it's starting, right? It's he's pulled up my thing, 4740.
Miss Thomas, you are unmuted now.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we can. Yeah.
Wonderful. May I start my presentation?
Yes, please.
Would it be possible to turn the video on?
Sure.
Thank you very much.
I guess I don't know if you registered for video, but I believe they can do that. And also, so you're the agent for the applicant, or you're the applicant, or just.
So my name is Laura Thomas. I am the applicant, and I'm representing myself today.
Okay. Are you a registered planner? You're not a registered planner.
No. I'm a family doctor.
Miss Thomas, I have added you to a panel position, so you can now turn your video on.
Perfect. So turn my video on. Here we go. Allow.
Okay, so this is for a medical clinic that you're for a proposed medical clinic and pharmacy.
Correct. Members of the committee, good afternoon. My name is Dr. Laura Thomas. I'm a family doctor and have been practicing in Etobicoke for the last 8 years. I'm a member in excellent standing with the College of Physicians and Surgeons of Ontario. I know the neighborhood well, where 4740 Dundas Street West is located. I've lived here. My children have gone to daycare here and school and now attend extracurricular activities here. My vision is to create a medical center at 4740 Dundas Street West that serves the needs of the community and provides the highest standard of care to residents living in the area. I have reviewed all letters of objection written by neighbors and have facilitated a virtual meeting that was held this past Tuesday, June the 6th at 1 p.m. to discuss and understand neighborhood concerns. Of note, most objection letters were submitted prior to the town hall and based on indirect information. In addition, the owner of 2 of the 3 units within the plaza where my subject property is located has withdrawn his objection and is now in full support. I have forwarded the email he sent me to the attention of the committee, and I hope to.
Who is that again?
This was Mr. Peter Webelt. He is the owner of the last 2 of 3 units. There's 4 in total within the plaza. So he's the owner of 2 of the 3 units, and he is now in full support of my application. An email was forwarded this morning to your attention. The proposed site is located in an area that borders residential detached homes to the north and east, low-rise apartment buildings immediately adjacent, the Barclay Terrace condos right at Dundas and Islington. There is also subsidized housing located on nearby Maybell Avenue and many new developing condos and developed condos. Proposals are also underway in the area to permit 12-story buildings with over 200 units, residential units, and also a retirement home at the corner of Dundas Street and Burnhamthorpe. I say all this because the Ministry of Health has designated this entire area, the postal code M9A, 189, and immediate postal codes, as an underserviced area when it comes to family medicine and medicine in general. And it is an area of high needs, and this is designated by the Ministry of Health on the basis that a large number of doctors are near retirement age of 70 and not accepting patients. There is a low proportion of family doctors to residents living in the area, and there is a high use of the emergency room for non-urgent visits of residents living in the area. The shortage of family doctors is further compounded by increasing development within the area. The current site, 4740, currently is a restaurant that has been shut down with 2 unoccupied residential units on the 2nd floor. Current parking spots at the plaza are non-compliant with local bylaws. My vision is to create a medical center, renew its facade, exterior facade, do an interior renovation, and add landscape to the front lawn for added greenery. On the second floor, I would like to have a family medicine clinic. On the main, a pharmacy and a physiotherapy clinic, and in the basement, a cardiology clinic. All of the medical practices will run by appointment only. This is not a hospital. This is not an urgent care center. This is not an emergency center. Appointments will be every 15 to 30 minutes to regulate the flow of patients. In addition, this is a visionary type of medical practice. I aim to deliver a hybrid type of practice where part of the patients are seen in person, but a lot of them are seen virtually for things like prescription refills or mental health. 1 in 4 Ontarians suffers from mental health, and these appointments can now be conducted virtually. Social distancing guidelines will also continue to be enforced as per mandates from the public health. And it is not good for business or in my interest to overcrowd my waiting rooms. I plan to tightly regulate the flow of traffic. The operating hours will be Monday to Thursday, 9 to 8, Fridays, 9 to 5, and Saturdays, 9 to 12. The reason for this widespread of hours is, again, not to overcrowd patients and to give them a chance to attend the clinic at longer hours. In the basement will be a cardiologist working part-time, 2 days a week, seeing 1 patient every 30 minutes. The pharmacy will cater to patients exclusively coming down from the family medicine clinic and will also offer free delivery of medications to residents living in the community. The physiotherapist will be small and independently owned and see 1 patient every 30 minutes. And the family doctor's office upstairs will have 2 family doctors working at once, seeing 1 patient every 15 minutes. The proposed medical center will also be the source of employment for doctors, for allied health professionals like a physio and a pharmacy, and maintenance people, thus creating economic opportunities for employment. According to the Etobicoke zoning code, the previous occupancy was a restaurant and the spaces required were 25. The proposed occupancy, the medical clinic, has a requirement of 37 spaces. Therefore, this leads to a parking deficiency of 12 spaces, and this information is coming from the city. The general parking requirements that are outlined by the Etobicoke bylaw were established before the pandemic. These requirements are a one-size-fits-all and do not address the specifics of the proposed medical clinic or the needs of this changing neighborhood. I want to point out that the majority of my patients that will be served by my clinic are located on the southwest corner of Islington and Dundas and reside in the multitude of condos, retirement residences, and subsidized housing there. Most of them do not drive and will be walking over. For those patients that do require the use of public transit, we commissioned a comprehensive parking study that was completed by a third party, which outlines that the area has a robust public transit system encompassing both a subway station located 900 meters away at Islington subway station and 2 bus routes with bus stops immediately adjacent, 1 on Dundas Street and then 1 on Islington, traversing north-south and east-west. This information is available in the parking study submitted for your consideration. For
Please wrap up.
Pardon me?
Can you just wrap up? You're over 6 minutes now, so you're at 5, but I'll let you go. And
thank you. In
important.
summary, the neighborhood is changing and growing at an unprecedented rate. The area is in high physician need. The area is exceptionally pedestrian friendly and very walkable. And the proposed medical clinic aims to attract patients living and working within that community within walking distance, most of them from low to medium income homes where they do not drive. They live in the condos, in the retirement homes, and in the subsidized housing located on the southwest corner of Islington and Dundas. The clinic will provide virtual care, thus eliminating the need for many patients to come in at once. It will operate on an appointment-only basis. My vision for West Grove Medical aligns with the vision of Toronto to reduce reliance on cars and encourage other modes of transportation. This is a complex community with a wide range of socioeconomic and demographics, and this clinic will set an example of how medical care can be delivered effectively to the people that need it. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for a very, you gave us a lot of information in a very short period of time. You're obviously feeling very passionate about this. And my comment would be, I guess there's a lot of medicine being done virtually, but from reading the letters, we're looking, it is a very large clinic. I think in square feet, it's over 600 meters, which is 6,000 square feet. Anywhere from what you read from the letters, 15 to 18 examining rooms. So that's perhaps, I'd like to revisit that. Like you said, 2 patients, but you got 18 or 15 or maybe less. I don't know. Are they exaggerating? How many examining rooms are there?
In the family medicine clinic, there will be 8 exam rooms, 2 doctors working at once, each with 4 exam rooms available. The reason is we do not want to overcrowd the waiting room, and we will be putting patients within the rooms if they happen to arrive early. The main floor will have a pharmacy and physio, and in the basement are actually 4 exam rooms, not 8. The rest house things like diagnostics and stress tests and equipment. So it's actually
the actual medical clinic has 8, not 18, not 15.
You are
the physio clinic is separate.
It is completely separate.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Does anyone else have any questions for Dr. Thomas before we hear from the neighbors and their legal representatives? We have some people being represented by others here today. So, Mr. Taylor, I see your hand up as well as Mr.
Yeah, Dr. Thomas, I think you probably sensed from this panel at the outset on this application, we're very confused about the transportation situation. I'm looking back at the transportation report that was submitted last April. And among other things, well, there's 2 key things. They asked for a parking study. Now, I presume that is beyond the parking study that they were probably aware of a couple of months ago, or has there been another one? And again, I think I'm going to certainly need to review very carefully the concluding statement in that transportation memo, because it's critical and I don't understand it right now. The other point that transportation raised last time was the need for easement agreements, registered in title of 4740 in perpetuity, required for the off-site tandem parking spaces belonging to 4742, 4744, and 4748. Have those easement agreements been drafted, or are they ready to be put into place? Has anything been done about that comment from transportation last time?
Mr. Taylor, just in the interim, if I can have Angelica bring up that transportation memo from this morning, because you're right, you didn't get it in your package, and it is kind of critical.
It's very long and it is critical, and I just don't feel comfortable right now. I don't understand where they're coming from.
And I'm just going, you're right. I'm reading the minutes. It was deferred in order to consult with transportation, right? And
yeah.
Neighbors.
And I guess now we're hearing from transportation, but it's.
And I believe this memo refers to a parking study that was submitted a day or 2 ago. It was fairly recently.
Which we don't have.
It was uploaded. It was by Transplan, uploaded on June the 6th, and it was an amendment of the.
Okay, so that was 2 days ago.
Let me just scroll down here. Okay, I see it now. Supporting material parking justification. Okay.
Yeah.
Can that be blown up? I can't read that. Can I see the way it starts? Yeah, there you go.
And, you know, the question is, have the other agents and neighbors who are going to speak, we're waiting to hear from, have they seen this report and the councilor's report? From what we looked at, it was neither of them seemed to be very definitive on, you know, they say shared spaces, deficiency of 5, you know, this does provide, I know that there are people who don't have, you know, family doctors are at a premium these days. And a lot of work is being done virtually. But it's unfortunate that both from what I've seen of this report, I don't know if the members, we don't get a clear, definitive picture from transportation. Again, we haven't read it in advance. It's hard to read that little screen thing. Perhaps Mr. Carvolino, you know, what's the, basically, what are they trying to tell us here? Same thing with the councillor. It wasn't, you know,
Mr. Chair, that's why I'm reluctant to weigh in, because it's not specific, and I don't want to misinterpret any of what either of the 2 are saying. What I find concerning is that this was deferred for transportation to get a report and to comment. And from what I see, we only received the transportation parking addendum 2 days ago, and that prompted a hasty memo, not hasty, sorry, wrong adjective. prompted this quick response from transportation. So this is the second time it's here.
Yeah.
We're trying to accommodate everybody. Timing is everything in committee, but I sense there's some angst amongst the members, and if this doesn't quite clearly state what you're looking for, maybe the applicant can weigh in. Otherwise, this should have come to a different agenda maybe 2 weeks from now or so.
Yeah, it was deferred not too long ago in order to do certain things, and then it seems to be put back on the agenda when this report or the applicant's revised parking justification study and community planning's very fast response in order to meet the new timing. So,
sorry, one last thing.
They're usually you'll agree that I think they're usually a little more clear to us as to what their recommendation is. They're either okay, they tell us yes, we should approve it. In terms of even the counselor
or conditions.
Yeah, can we look at the counselor's letter again too? We don't really see. Yeah, there's no conditions. It's just and the counselor, I think, from what we saw quickly, also didn't really give a definitive response. They talk about a grant to improve renovate parking.
And just a point of clarification, committee staff only, I just received this note from the application technician who case managed it. They only received the parking study addendum yesterday. So we're trying to accommodate.
Right. So why did this just get put back on this agenda? Maybe it should have been the agenda at the end of the month. I know obviously the applicant wants to get on with getting approval and getting this thing built. Members, does anyone else have any comment or whether we can come to a decision here? We haven't even heard from the neighbors yet.
Chair.
Yeah.
I would suggest we maybe defer this item so that we can get proper comments from transportation, maybe some recommended conditions, because, you know, if we were to give approval, we'd probably want some sort of transportation conditions. And we got old ones, but this letter we got today doesn't provide any clarity.
Yes. So I'm thinking along the same way, Mr. Member Palmer, we have 4 or 5 people to listen to. We're going to listen to them. They're opposed. The applicant's in favor. And we're still not going to have the position of transportation and or in the event of what their conditions might be. I think this all happened too quickly, and I'm not faulting anyone. But if we just got the updated transportation purpose that this matter was deferred for back in May, not so long ago, I think was it the last hearing? April 27th. This one was deferred. Maybe we should have waited another hearing to, rather than everyone scrambling around to deal with this very important issue. Because we don't seem to have clear direction from transportation or the counselor in terms of what they even want us to do. And again, we haven't had time to digest this. So we haven't.
I would even say that I don't even know what we're supposed to be considering here, because the notice refers to parking that was provided for the previous use. So there's no clarity really, and even what the requested variance is.
I think isn't it a deficiency of 16 spaces?
I think the previous use was a restaurant.
Yeah. Right. So in any event,
it says a minimum of 37 for the proposed clinic. So they take out what the restaurant is not going to be a restaurant. There's still going to be 2 dwelling units. So we don't really know what the deficiency even is, I guess. Mr. Carvalino? And we still haven't weighed in with these 4 neighbors on the line.
I share
even on the issue of whether they matter. I assume they don't have an objection in the in a further deferral if that's the way we're going to have to go, because it's not going to get built until then. And obviously, given the fact that the appeal, if we give an approval, the neighbors don't have any appeal rights. So does anyone else have any opinion? Mr. Taylor, what do you, Mr. Palmer, I think you feel we should be doing.
In my mind, deferral is the only way to go. I can't vote either way on this right now. Again, Mr. Palmer's just pointed something very troubling about the notice. It talks about a minimum of 37 parking spaces are required. The existing restaurant and 2 dwelling units required past tense 21, and there are an existing 8. The proposed will result in a deficiency of 16. I think the deficiency is 29. I want transportation services to tell me no or yes, subject to the following conditions. In the absence of those 2 things, with all due respect to the counselor, I want transportation services to be clear as to what we should do. And we haven't got that right now. So sorry, the doctor did a wonderful job explaining the need for this facility, and I'm sure that's true. But I don't want to approve something that doesn't have enough parking spaces.
Yeah, and the issue is that the deferral was for this reason. They came back prematurely.
Yeah.
Last minute, having 2 days for us to get a report that really doesn't give us any direction. And you're right, now it looks like even the variance itself, there's something wonky about that.
What's it?
I know the doctor's been waiting wants to go ahead and perhaps has an answer for that, but I don't think this committee feels confident in making a decision. We do have to weigh in with the other people. So,
Mr. Chair, just to clarify, the variance is written the same way that it was received from the building division. So it was a zoning notice that was submitted by the applicant. There is a complex credit system for the parking, giving credit for what was there versus what's existing and what would be required today for the new use. And I had the same question. So it's basically 37 for the medical clinic. They're giving the previous one a credit of 21, and for the commercial component, not the residential, and that's where you do the subtraction, and the 16 is what comes out of it as the deficiency.
Okay, so at least feel confident that the 16 number is right. We still don't have enough information to make a decision on this. And again, we hear that a lot of people are going to come. They're local. It's serving the local. People aren't coming from Oakville to go to a doctor here. They're going to come from the local community, and that's wonderful. But again, especially since any decision granted does not have any appeal rights for the neighbors, we have 4 people we haven't even heard from either on either issue. I know I keep saying that, but we have an obligation to hear from these people that are represented, either on the issue of the deferral. I assume they would want a right decision. I assume none of those people will hear from them if that's the road we're going to go down on the issue of deferral, just to weigh in as a courtesy. So is someone making a motion to defer this matter on the basis that we don't have the information before us or the position of the various departments or the counselor in this matter to make a decision? Mr. Taylor?
I'll move deferral due to insufficient information and clarity from the counselor and the Transportation Services Department.
Okay, so you're prepared to make that motion, but so at this point, Mr. Carpellino, should we weigh in with the 4 people on the line just to hear from them and as a courtesy, because I assume they will not be averse to a deferral so that we have the proper information and they have more time. Again, those who are perhaps paying representatives here, I see we have a lawyer and another representative as well. So I guess we have to weigh in with these people, Phil?
Mr. Chair, I would suggest these people have been waiting. We did hear from the proponent. They understand, I hope better today, what the whole proposal is in terms of the hours, the number of rooms, so they have more information. But I would recommend that you hear from those.
Sure, and as well as from Dr. Thomas, to go back to her, and I'm sure has lots to say. Okay, so let's hear first from Peter Milson, representing the neighbor at number 1 North Chestnut Hills Acres. And I guess the issue we are going to have a motion on the idea of deferral rather than on the merits.
Oh, you just want to hear on the deferral. Okay, well, my name is Peter Milchin, PM Strategies Inc. I was retained by the Prince Edward Animal Clinic, which is located at 1 Chestnut Hills Crescent, immediately next door. I understand why you would want to defer it based on the lack of time that you've had to review the information from transportation and other submissions. So we would not object to a deferral for a few weeks.
Yeah, Mr. Milchin, it's not that we haven't digested it. We've tried to digest it on the fly, but it doesn't seem to give us any real direction. That's the problem. We're pretty good. We could read something
get into the merits of it to go further, but I think a deferral is a reasonable approach.
Thank you, sir. Okay, next speaker, Victor Conte at 4744 Dundas. That's in, I assume, Plaza.
Thank you for. Okay, thank you for allowing to speak. I am the I'm the owner of 4744, which is the unit attached to the proposal that they're putting forward. What I know that I was an owner and also running my own hair salon business right next door to the proposal clinic. And I was there for over 20 years, and from 7 o'clock in the morning to about 8 o'clock at night. And I can tell you one thing, that there's not enough parking for a clinic of this size. And I can tell you why.
Sir, we unfortunately, I know you want to tell us why, but we're not going to hear it today. We're going to defer it to get some of these answers questioned, because we're not clear what the councillor, what transportation want us to do. So we're going to be deferring this, but we wanted to wait on the phone. We wanted to weigh in with you. So we'll be hearing this another day with your permission, sir, if that's okay with you.
Okay, so leave it. Yeah. No.
We'd like to hear your submission at the time, because you were there for so long running your hair salon. You know about the parking situation. So but if not today, we're going to be discussing that, unfortunately.
Yeah, and it's the landscaping that I'm worried because I know that's going to be hit with the cars backing up for sure. That landscaping should be longer.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Next speaker is Michael Thagall, lawyer on behalf of number 3 Chestnut Hills Crescent. And I believe he's a lawyer. Sir?
Yes. My name is Michael Thagall, and I am a lawyer. I'm acting for Oksana Sheputinsky, who is a property owner immediately behind the proposed development. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're sort of cutting in and out, but I can hear you. So just on the matter of the deferral, if you've been listening in, I don't know if you'll agree with us. We don't seem to have enough information to make a proper decision on this. So we're going to be deferring this. We just want to agree. Line.
Sorry, I'm going to agree with you, but I want to introduce another variable that I think everybody on the committee should be aware of. And that is that besides getting proper reports from traffic and also finding out what the councillor really thinks of this proposal, there's a matter lurking that needs a lot more information, and that is exactly how that mixing formula and spaces available kicks in. Now, there's been reference in the traffic reports about the fact that there's an easement agreement in place that allows the applicant to park on spaces in the small strip plaza that are owned by other property owners. We don't have a copy of that easement agreement, and I can tell you, lawyer, that reciprocal easements are not as simple as it sounds. There's restrictions, there's conditions, and in fact, there's also this concept that perhaps, and this is what the latest traffic report said, that they're not available to start off with. So I think you need clarification about whether that is a red herring or not.
Yeah, so this is obviously a strip plaza with different ownerships, and that always leads to problems and who parks where. And you see when you pull into one of these places, some people have signs, it's for us and it's for us, and it's a whole mixed bag. So again, that's a good thing to add to the minutes of the purpose of the deferral. Mr. Taylor touched on that. The question is, as a result of these reciprocal easements, is the numbers we're talking about, the 39 and the 8 and the 16, we need to get a handle on that. So that's, again, another thing to put in the mix in terms of trying to figure out during a deferral. And I'll touch base with Dr. Thomas when we go back there at the end of this process of touching base with all of the speakers. So thank you, Mr. Fiegel. Appreciate that. Putting that on the record, that's another issue that has to be dealt with.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And do we have Darius Azam at 40 Roxlene on the line? I believe, Olivia, you said not sure he was there.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Fagol was also going to be representing Darius Azam. We learned when we called him a few minutes ago.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
So,
So your comments you're also representing, in addition to Ms. Shabanotsky at number 3 Chestnut, you're also representing Mr. Azam at 40 Roxlene.
Yeah, yes, exactly. Just a ditto will be a comment.
Okay, so thank you. So we've now touched base with everyone who is waiting patiently to speak on the merits on this. Let's now go back to Dr. Thomas. Just as a courtesy to explain, with all of these issues, there's really nothing else, and perhaps these things can be done expeditiously and get onto an agenda as soon as possible. But I think this was a little premature, and the members do not feel comfortable making a decision on this with what's before us. So, Dr. Thomas, welcome back.
I'm muted. Thank you. I respect that and agree with the deferral.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so members, we have a motion. Mr. Taylor's deferral motion still stands. We're waiting a seconder.
I'm happy to second that.
Thank you. All in favor of the deferral? Okay, it's unanimous. We've spent a lot of time, and I think it's a smart thing to do here so that we can come to the appropriate, because whatever decision's made, people are going to be dealing with it. Okay, so I guess that was our last application. So all I need now is a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Oh, I'm always happy to make that one.
Thank you, Ms. Alderson, seconded by Ms. McCluskey. All in favor? The meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, staff.
Have a nice weekend, everyone. Be safe.
Yeah, you too.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.